Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah for rejoining, and we've got our last half an hour before Maghrib, and the next session led by our Honorable Imam Qais is about heedlessness and how to protect ourselves against heedlessness. And one thing that occurred to me earlier on when we were having a question and answer session was how many people knew about what the definition of sifat was. And then it's also important that we fully grasp the sort of vocabulary of the words that we are studying, like heedlessness is a Ghaflah in Arabic and Ghaflat in Urdu, but the actual word in English, heedlessness, which obviously our Honorable Ustad will be delivering. So it's important that we understand, what heedlessness is. This is which I will leave to Imam Qais to ask and explain. Inshallah. Over to Imam Qais.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. As Ustaz Zafar has just mentioned, is that it is important for us to know the topics and what we're talking about. We might be talking about Earth and you might be thinking about Jupiter. And maybe then you're trying to fit Earth and into Jupiter. Wait a minute, Jupiter doesn't fit onto Earth, and you got it all wrong. Hence why when we do talk, sometimes we may be thinking that you should all understand, maybe you don't understand. So that's why when the feedback is given and we find out that you maybe don't understood, then you should say I have not understood, and then we can try and clarify. So Ghaflah, heedlessness, you hear this word many times. So who exactly knows what it means then? Oh, look at that. You two should know it. Oh, no. Zoom participant, anybody know what Ghaflah means? What does Ghaflah mean? Here we go, we'll put this up. What is heedlessness?
Anybody?
That. Okay, no, I'm going to choose my best buddy here. Zakaria? There you go. You try to hide away from the camera, Zakaria. It doesn't work with me. I got magical eyes.
Being heedless, like when you're aware of something, but then you negate and you neglect doing that thing. So you're very not ignorant, but you tend to not do something you're supposed to.
Tend to not do something you're not supposed to. Okay, we could say that's a resultant effect of being heedless. Anybody else? Who will muster the courage? Go on. Huwaid, aka Waleed, go on.
Being heedless is being heedless.
Subhanallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Subhan, Park, or faithful of anything. What I mean by this Subhanallah is that being heedless, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows His words, His ways perfectly in every single way, and He is the most knowledgeable, and we are lacking in knowledge in every essence, every way, and that is why His Subhan. So our nephew Huwaid mentioned that being heedlessness is being heedless. MashaAllah.
Have you got access to Zoom?
Yes, please. Have you got access to Zoom?
Yeah. Not giving attention to that which is of benefit for that which may not be of benefit at all.
Okay, that's true. I'm just going back to our nephew. This is what happens when COVID strikes and schools closes and they have to do their GCSEs exams. In the last year they've got the GCSEs. This is what happens, unfortunately, where they get into top universities and top colleges, and this is going to be the resultant effect, unfortunately. So please watch out, employers and who are out there.
So there's a pandemic.
You're going to have the batch of 2019 to 2021. Please be aware of this batch. You need to make sure that they know what they're doing. They might have A stars and A's, and they might have all this, but we just have to be careful. Now, I'm sure they worked as mashallah. So being unaware. Okay, anybody else? One more guess, because we need to move on. One more guess. What? Anybody in Zoom? Zoom?
No.
Come on, Zoom, say me something. I know we've got brothers here. Zoom are usually more intelligent than this.
Ignore something or its importance willingly. Somebody's mentioned.
Good in there, yeah. Go on, brother, Nadin's brother, forgotten in there. Furqan, go on, Furqan. Nadim was so scared. He looked like this. He put his head down straight to think. Because I said Nadim's brother, he thought he would know my brother gets choosing. The fear that comes in, honestly, the name was being mentioned, honestly. Go on for it. By the way, everybody's watching you now, so just in case.
I'm not too sure, really.
You're not too sure?
Give up.
Okay, that's why. That's good.
Over to you, Imam Qais.
Okay, we had one brother over. He raised his hand. The brother over there. Go on, he's raised his hand.
Being heedless is comparable to being like an animal. So you haven't got a purpose. So when it's described in the Quran, it's described like the animals are heedless. So as humans are.
That is, this is what happens, the resultant effect when you become heedless. But the actual heedlessness, what it means, the Arabic word Ghaflah, there's 4 words I can see. When the tamarbuta go into a ha, when you make a waqaf, and it's a Ghaflah, okay? So there's ghain, there's fa, there's lam, and there's tamarbuta, will become a ha. Ghain, ghiyab, ghaib, alimul ghaib. So the word ghiyab means literally absence, being absent from something, from someone. So absence of something or someone, that is word ghiyab, that's what it means. So ghain, ghiyab. Fa, farq, separate, separation. So being absent, separation. Lam, lahdha, lahdhatun, a moment, breath or a moment that you can say. So ghiyab, farq, lahdha, absence, separate, moment. And the tamarbuta becomes a ha, hadam, which means destruction or to destroy or to downfall. Now this summates, these words summate and gives you the meaning, to a certain extent encapsulate the meaning of heedlessness, ghafla. Let me explain. So when a person ghafla, we mean in regards to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in general sense, being ghafla, like the brothers were saying, sisters were saying on Zoom, to do something, being absent-minded of something and doing something without knowing and then doing it and not doing it, this is also the resultant effect. But being absent-minded, being absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you become absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through body, mind and spirit, there becomes a separation between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There becomes a separation between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when you become absent through mind, through heart, through body, through spirit, when you become absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there comes a separation. When that moment, that moment when the separation occurs and you become absent, then the resultant effect is what? That is your destruction. Why? Because as soon as you become heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as soon as you become ghafil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is the danger point in which the shaitan and nafs will attack you so that you then commit sin. You are prone to committing sin. As soon as this occurs, that moment the resultant effect is a spiritual death occurs in you. You die spiritually. What do I mean by this? Let me tell you a story. Like everybody likes stories now. Okay, are you all sitting comfortably? Let me begin. So there was a buzurg, a saintly person in the olden days. Look, everybody just smiles when I mention a story. Look at all the smiley faces, they're all looking at me now. Honestly, they're all smiling, and it's amazing. It's like little children just waiting to hear a story. Yes, okay, we're going to get a story now. Look, Ustaz Maj is the biggest smiler here. Look at it, he's smiling away. Look, it's just there. Yeah, okay. So, and he's heard the story, by the way, as well, and he's still smiling. I don't believe that, honestly. So what happened was that in the olden days, there's a buzurg, there's a pious and righteous person, a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had a student, a murid. And what happens, like you hear stories, like you now, mashallah, brothers, that you're talking to and conversing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, conversing and then receive a message. Some of you are traveling spiritually to different places and different lands spiritually. So these karamat, these miracles, one of the miracles that the khususi speciality of this buzurg was that he was able to, by the will of Allah, just like Imam Abu Hanifa rahmullah, what happened was that he is able, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a special privilege in which they can speak to animals. or trees or plants. So this Buzurg, he was able to converse with animals. They knew him, he was able to converse. And his murid also had the ability to do that as well, where he could speak to animals, he can hear what they're saying and he understands them. We don't understand, we just hear dogs barking, but they're probably saying something. MashaAllah, one of the incidents that Ustaz Majid related in his diary when he was in Pakistan about, I don't know why, they're saying they were driving the wrong side of the road and the dogs were barking, and then Hazrat told them to do tawajjuh and then try to listen and try to understand. It's just like a switch, a button. The awliya and salihin, such friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu gives them authority and power that they just need to switch a button, and then you will be also able to hear and you'll be also be able to see. So they switch the button and they ask the students, right, what are the dogs saying? Why are they barking for? And what was it, Ustaz Majid? Why were they barking?
I think you find Ustaz Harun.
Oh, Ustaz Harun, well, he's not here. So the reason is because they're driving on the other side of the road, the wrong direction, and the dogs are barking. What are they doing? They're going to go towards like destruction here. What are they doing? They're barking. The dogs are saying, well, where are you going? Where are you going? Stop. Because you're going the wrong direction, wrong way. So this is what happens, unfortunately. So like this student, he was also able to understand and comprehend what the animals were saying. So he was journeying. In the olden days, they used to travel days and months to visit their sheikh, the master, this teacher. On the way, there were some birds on the tree and the branches, and they were whispering away. And one of the birds, they said, "Oh, Sheikh Fulan has just passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un." He got upset. Am I hearing right? Now you start to question, am I hearing right because I'm hearing the birds? Maybe this is not right. Maybe I'm not hearing things, etc. So he tried to, and he's hearing again, the birds are saying, oh, so there's an alarm being made in the samawat, and the birds and everybody is making an alarm. The animal kingdom, all of them are saying, Shaykh Fulan has just passed away. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. He's so upset. He's not seen his sheikh, and now he's trying to go. So he rushes and rushes towards his sheikh, to his master. He goes to the house, knocks on the door, and his master opens the door. He goes, hey, what's this? What's happening? I just heard the birds, and I just heard these animals. They're all saying that the sheikh has just passed away. Yes, Sayyidi. And his face, all complexion, all changed. Sheikh could see what's happened, so he brings the students and sits him down, gives him some drink, said, oh, my student, is everything okay? Oh, Sayyidi, oh, my master, yes, everything is fine. I'm so relieved. I said, what seems to be bothering you? He goes, as I was on my journey, I was hearing some birds, and what they were saying is that they said that they're conversing with one another, and there's an land that was made. There's a land that was made. And he said, Sheikh Fulan passed away, and they said that you passed away from this one. They said, Inna lillahi, you returned back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You actually left and gone from this temporal world. And I was so grieved. I thought you'd gone and I'm coming to meet you. So that's why I'm baffled as to now I'm seeing you still here. What happened? The Sheikh said, that is correct. Now, I know you're really enjoying the story, but I'm trying to make a point here. Is that is correct. At that moment when the elan came, my heart, my spirit went away from the presence of Allah SWT for that moment. And instantly, Allah SWT made the elan to the malaika, and everybody said that this person has now passed away. Because why? Remember, what did the Rasulullah say about the difference between the person who's doing dhikr and not doing the dhikr? Alive and dead. My heart, my spirit, we are truly alive when we're in the remembrance and the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the moment that goes away, that presence goes away, we are dead spiritually. So they made janazah, they made alan. I straight away realized, and I did tawbah, and then they rejoiced again. Thus he's come back to us again. So the destruction here, my dear, look at, for me and you, ghafla would be, for example, we are ghafil with our bodies, we're not praying. We're ghafil with our bodies, we're sinning. For the awliya and salihin, just a lamha, just a lahza, just a moment, if they're away from the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is destruction for them. Just like you hear Sayyidina Abu Abbas al-Mursi rahmullah, what did he say? He said is that if the vision, the mushahada, the vision of the Prophet ﷺ was away from my sight for even a moment, for a breath, I would not consider, for a blink of an eye, I would not consider myself a Muslim. The vision, the mushahada of the Prophet ﷺ, if this was away from my eyesight, from the mushahada was away from me for a moment, for a blink of an eye, I would not consider myself, and this has been my state for the past 40 years. These are the types of people that we're talking about, that we're taking the path and learning how to connect, like Ustad Harun was teaching us, how to connect to the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so that why we can be free from being heedlessness. Ghaflah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ghiyab, absent, faraq. You become, the moment, the time you become absent, and the separation occurs between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for that moment, at that moment is when your destruction will come. That is when you're prone to sin. That is when you're prone that you will be actually now being, most likely you will now end up being like the vultures, the shaitan, like vultures. They're now aiming for you now like a missile. They're going to target you to now entice you towards sin. And most likely you'll be doing that. A person who is heedful, aware of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and prays Allah, he will not, he'll very seldom find it hard to actually commit sin. So how can we safeguard ourselves? Now we know everybody is aware what heedlessness is, aren't you? Yes? Now, just to make sure, now I'm going to give the microphone back to my wonderful nephew Huwaid. He will now tell me what is heedlessness. Let's see if he's really understood. I've taken away, you can't cheat now as well. I've taken the thing away. So what is heedlessness?
Pressure.
And if you say heedlessness is being heedlessness, now that is not good.
Well, there's 5 aspects, like absence, for absence, separation, moment, and destruction.
Okay, now explain that though. That was a word. Now explain it to me what it is.
Well, there's
You've got absence, you've got separation, you've got moment, and you've got destruction. Now put it together. There's a formula. It's absence plus separation plus moment equals destruction. What do we mean by that?
well, when you're absent from Allah, then Allah's presence, then you're heedless. And
No, don't use the word heedless. You can't use the same word to define the word. Yes?
then you're
When you're absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's the next word?
you're prone to do sin, and
No, when you're absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what's the next word?
you forget.
What's the next word? You said it before.
Separation.
Separation. When you're absent from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, separation occurs between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what happens at that? At that, what's the next word? Everybody help him? MashaAllah, very good. Well done everybody. At that moment, even Nadeem's very happy as well. Look, he's so happy you mentioned that. At that moment, what happens, wait?
You're destroyed.
Ooh, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? You are destroyed.
Destruction.
You can do. Destruction occurs, downfall occurs. Now the dangerous thing, as our Ustaz Abdul Rahim and Ustaz Majid were mentioning, ponder on this as well. They mentioned that imagine that moment at that time, that moment you are heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are separated from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are absent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The real destruction would be if your maut actually comes at that time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala safeguard us, help us to protect us that we don't fall in that state, whilst at least when the angel of death actually comes to us. And this is one of the things that's going to help. So according to the Master Science of Purification, if you wish to stay away from heedlessness, and I've got to literally go through this in 10 minutes, so inshallah just bear with me. As they say, grant me your ears for 10 minutes, your ears and your heart and mind, and then inshallah you'll enjoy some food afterwards. Yeah, so just grab me your ears for 10 minutes. So however, if you want to safeguard yourself from heedlessness, if you want to protect all around you, temptations around you, dunyas around you, world, work, play, enjoyment, social media, all of the things that is around you to actually make you fall into heedlessness, they're all there. Temptations are there. You are fully exposed to being heedless. So what can we do? Just like, for example, we come to the masjid here, what have we got? Now, plain and obvious, what do we have in the masjid? What do you see around you? Harun, what do you see around you? Don't say pictures and decorations and things. What do you see? You're doing construction as well. Worshippers. That's good. That's good. Worshippers, that's good. Go on, Abdul Rahman. 4 walls, mashallah, excellent Abdul Rahman. Brilliant. Your dad's going to be very happy. He's going to have a bar of chocolate. Look, he's smiling. He says, my son done well. There you go, mashallah. Abdul Rahman, mashallah. That's good. Brother Yusuf, I've now heard your wonderful voice. Brother Yusuf, tell me something. What else do you see? We've got 4 walls. What else do you have? Mashallah, we have a ceiling, and we have all this, mashallah. So what we have done is that we have come from the outside world into the masjid, haven't we? In the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we are being protected from the outside environment with the 4 walls and the ceiling and the roof and everything, isn't it? Yes? It's safeguarding us from the cold or the heat or the rain or whatever it is from outside. You do not know. It's likewise, all these waves of temptation through social media, through friends and society, to pressures and all the things around us, to make us fall into heedlessness. What we have to do, as the Mashayikhs have said, is you need to now erect those walls. You need to establish those walls to protect you from the wave of heedlessness coming towards you, the windness of heedlessness, the temptation which is there, so that you don't fall into become a ghafil. You don't become a ghafil. So first thing, there are 5 things the Mashayikhs have mentioned, and I'm not going to elaborate because we haven't got time. I'm just going to mention first thing, and you might think this is so odd. For those of you might think, but the first thing you should, to help you from being heedless, and the first wall that you need to erect and build and construct so that you don't fall into heedlessness is what? Look, endeavour to work and earn a livelihood. You might think this is not ibadat, this is not pray, this is not presence. What are you talking about? No. Look, Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu, Amirul Mu'mineen after Sayyidina Abu Siddiq radhiyallahu anhu, the second best creation after the Prophet, after Sayyidina Abu Siddiq, and he is the second greatest personality. The companions, he is Amirul Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Umar radhiyallahu anhu, Al-Fariq, he is the separator, he's distinguisher from haqq and truth and batil. What did he say? He wished for a death. Did he say he wished for death in sajda? No. He didn't say, I want to die in sajda. He didn't say, I want to die doing dhikr. He didn't say, I want to die doing fulan, these are the ibadah. No. He said, Ya Rabbal Alameen, I wish for a death in which I am earning livelihood. I'm earning livelihood, rizq, with my own hands. I'm earning livelihood for my family, and I'm sweating, and I die whilst work in the city of Medina. Allah Subhanahu takes me away from this world. So what is Sayyidina Umar saying? Oh Umar, oh Sayyidina Umar, what are you saying? Not ibadah, not worship, not prayer, not tilawat, not dhikr. Why work? Because he understood the service of the creation. Fulfilling the rights of oneself and fulfilling the rights of family is one of the highest level of ibadah you can do. Those of you who fall into heedlessness, most of the time you've got a lot of time in your hands, because if you don't have a job, if you don't have an income, you will have free time in which shaitan and nafs will occupy us in doing evil acts. Binge watch, Netflix, Amazon, BBC, Sky, whatever box you can watch, binge watch them. Why? Because you've got no job, no livelihood, nothing to do. When you're students, you will now forget it. That's your livelihood as a student. Let me also tell some students is that your livelihood is what? Is educating, learning knowledge. That's your livelihood for you. This knowledge, remember there's 2 types of rizq. One is the money, another is knowledge. You're also earning livelihood as well. That's your rizq, seeking knowledge. Educate yourself. I'm on the first one. Educate yourself. And then what you're going to do, educate yourself, and then this is your livelihood. But if when holiday comes, what happens is that my livelihood is finished, i.e. my education is finished, and what do? We just lazy around and just binge watch and do nothing. Obviously, good students, they'll actually still study and learn and do things, but most of us will be doing that. And that is the result of fact, because why? A big portion of your time has now gone. That was your livelihood, has now gone, so the student doesn't know how to occupy it. There's no structure to his time, to her time. There's no structure to it. They don't know how to apply it. They don't know how to occupy themselves. That's it. But in earning the livelihood, I'm going to whiz through this, is that don't make effort to open a business, make effort to have a job, make effort to earn lawfully, but don't, and be content with that, but don't what? Seek more by haram means. Be content with whatever halal means you've got. Don't seek more by halal means. What I mean by that is that don't try to be, this is what we're trying to do nowadays, the cryptocurrency, the gangs, the rules. What's happening is that 15-year-olds have got a Mercedes and BMW, strange. 16-year-olds are entrepreneurs. How did that happen? I know it can happen, but how did that happen? Our parents are turning a blind eye. They don't question, oh son, oh daughter, where do you get the wealth from? They're not asking anything. They're just happy my 18-year-old, 20-year-old has just bought me a mansion. No question as to where the wealth comes from. No question. But they probably earned it. Why? How? By killing your brethren, your brother, your sister through drugs. Selling drugs. Became a millionaire by selling drugs. Become a millionaire by selling alcohol. Become a millionaire by dealing interest. This is all haram. This is blood in your hand. And this is not going to actually safeguard you. When we say earning wealth, earn halal, be it small amount, it doesn't matter, be content with that. Why? In that small amount there is barakah in there. Earning haram, millions you'll have, but unfortunately it'll be just siphoning away, and you'll actually flop away and feel away, and it'll go away. That's your first wall built. Earning halal livelihood, earning a livelihood against Ghaflah, against heedlessness. That's your first wall built. Did you say to wrap up now? Oh, sorry, I thought you said, oh. Okay, that's your first wall built. Second wall. How many of you have this? Abdul Rahman will know, and also Bilal will know. Memanaya, Zakaria, you listen. Guests is in the house. Some guests have come, Meman have come. But what's happening is that you're in your room. You're in your room, you're working, you're trying to work away. But can you really truly work away when you know there's a guest in the house? Nobody can work. You know why? You're trying to do work, but you know, I'm not functioning properly because of the guests that they're waiting for me, they're there. This is what you should think is that next wall in which you can erect to safeguard you from Ghaflah is that think that Maut, Malakul Maut, and Israel, death is waiting for me like the guest in the room. You're upstairs doing your work, the guest is down to death is waiting for me in the living room waiting for me. If you know death is waiting for you, how would you work? How can you work? Would you be thinking, for example, you've got an option, you know death is waiting. Allah give us all long life and pious life and righteous life. Let's take this scenario here for you all to just think for 2 seconds here, is that imagine you're in your room, you're in your office room, or you're in your bedroom, you're in front of your laptop, or you're in front of your PC, but you know death is waiting for you, Hazrat Israel is waiting for you. What would you do? Bilal, what would you do? So you should not tell me a name the other day, then I would have been guest picking, you know. What would you do, Bilal? Work quicker? Okay, true. Shamsher? Astaghfar, mashallah, very good. Brother, mashallah, what's your name, brother? Adnan. Hannan or Adnan, you say? Adnan, what would you do, Adnan? If you know, let me put the scenario scene there. You're in your room and you know death is waiting for you like a guest in your living room. What would you do?
Return to Allah.
How would you return to Allah? He's coming to take you to Allah, by the way. He's there to take you back to Allah, but what would you do?
You try and increase the time that you have in good deeds.
Exactly, you try and make it productive. You're not going to waste. So you're not going to put on love. There's a 6 series of this seasons of this I can watch, or 5 seasons of Etrigul, and I've got to make sure I watch that, or this and that. You're not going to waste your time in that. You can't even work and function properly when normal guests is in the house. What to say about when death is waiting for you? So this mindset, have it in a mindset, is that death is waiting for me like a guest in the house. That this is going to help erect the second wall to safeguard you from heedlessness. And here is where I'll have to stop, and maybe inshallah Allah will cover this maybe another time, but at least we erected 2 walls. Even if you practice these 2, it will help you to somewhat to actually safeguard you from heedlessness. So ghaflah, heedlessness, my dear brothers and sisters, is something that we should make sure, endeavour to try to protect ourselves from. But we shall try and actually go through in detail another time. That's another bless you.
Imam, just quickly list the other 3, 4. I mean, if you haven't got detail for.
I can list. Okay, here we go. Because listing is not going to help with that explanation. But anyway, I can list it. Next, number 3 is the rights of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, which is the point. Only you can execute that, right? No one else. So no wali, no prophet, no messenger, no angel can come and do your ibadat. You have to be the one to do it. So one is what? One is actually thinking guest is in the house. Number 2, that was number 1. Number 1 is, here we go, earning a livelihood. Number 2, death is waking like a guest. Number 3 is executing the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Only you can do, nobody else can do it. Number 4 is being in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, is watching me. Every deed that I do, He's actually seeing that. And number 5 is know that with every breath my life is diminishing. Every single sauce I'm taking, every single breath I'm taking, my life is going away, piece by piece, one by one, one by one. Every moment is passing and I'm dying. A person who does that will actually then be safeguarded from heedlessness, and actually be in the remembrance of Allah and the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he will or she will not be actually in forgetfulness. Okay, jazakumullah jaza. I apologize, I'm sorry, I only managed just 2, but inshallah, maybe another time we'll go through it, inshallah. Jazakumullah jaza.
Jazakallah. For the rest of you can now make your way up, inshallah, just for the purpose of communicating with the online participants. Inshallah ta'ala, we'll be back at 6 p.m. for our next session. We will be obviously breaking now for iftar, maghrib, and then food. So inshallah, see you back at 6 p.m. Jazakallah. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. मैं तेरी तरफ अपने घर आऊं।